soon to BBC One.
Is it him?
Yeah.
She's happy and she's settled. Don't screw things up for her.
I just wish that I could stop loving you.
All new Our Girl continues tonight at 9 on BBC One.
A technical tart and a Danish classic. It's pastry week on the Great British Bake Off tonight. It can only be Wednesday night on BBC One, starting with The One Show.
Al, what are you waiting for? Come on, we are on air in 1 minute.
I know, but I just need a bit of hairspray. I can't go on without it.
All right, well, what's the hold-up?
Well, the star of Gardener's World's got its paws all over the makeup in there.
Monty Don?
No, Nigel. And welcome to The One Show with Matt Baker.
And Alex Jones. So, yes, we've had some well-known double acts on The One Show before. There's been Ant and Dec,
Paul Hollywood and Mary Berry.
even Paul Dark and his Demelza. But tonight's guests, well, they are just inseparable.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us. Just the two of us. Just the two of us. Building castles in the sky. Just the two of us. You and I.
It's Monty Don and a fully made up and pampered Nigel.
Well, a very warm welcome to you both.
Lovely to see you.
It's lovely to be here.
We understand that this is Nigel's first outing to the Big Smoke.
He's never been to London. He's never been on a street. He's hardly ever worn a collar or a lead. So this is an extremely stressful occasion for him, but he's doing fine.
Oh, he's doing
well.
very well.
Yes.
Well, if he wants to go and have a little wander around the studio, feel free. You can do whatever you want, Nigel. This place is yours. And we understand also that the tricks of the trade that you use at Longmeadow to welcome all of the viewers to Gardener's World is to adorn your cameras with toys.
You will find jibs in particular with various toys on it. And the director will say, well, I want Nigel to look up. Yeah. And so he's following the ball. Look at that.
We've done the trick here tonight, of course, in the One Show studio. So this is our jib, Paul's camera. There we are. Look, and let's see.
A bit like a pet shop.
See how it works. Look at that. Isn't that ideal? And then we also have, just hiding behind here as well, a little squeaky toy to get the ears moving. There we are. And looking over there. And look over there's Monty's over there. Now Monty's over there. And then you can have that, Nigel. Well done.
Thank you. Good boy.
Isn't that lovely? So, of course, it's lovely to have the pair of you here. And we're going to be talking about all things Nigel throughout the programme.
You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I've got to say, Matt, that is a lovely shirt you're wearing tonight.
This one?
Yeah.
100% cotton. Ideal for climate control as the season's on the turn.
Ah, very nice. Yeah. Well, very shortly, you might be able to wear a shirt where the cotton has been spun right here in Britain. And you know what? We have found the perfect presenter for this story.
We haven't got fern cotton, have we?
No. The ever-stylish Andy Kershaw.
Oh.
Once upon a time, here in Greater Manchester, cotton was king. A simple strand of spun thread that's clothed and furnished nations and civilisations. For almost 200 years, it was a source of huge wealth, transforming the city and surrounding towns into the powerhouse of the Industrial Revolution. My parents were the first generation of our family to escape the cotton mills. Everyone before them had worked in that industry. And as a kid in Rochdale in the 60s and 70s, I watched the industry decline and then disappear. We thought forever. The last cotton mill here closed in the 1980s, but 30 years later, cotton spinning is back. Andy Ogden is the MD. So what's it feel like being a Lancashire mill owner? I must say, you don't look like the traditional type.
Well, I'm thinking of growing a beard and
mutton chops,
and putting a top hat on there, and
changing your name to Josiah,
and perhaps one of these days have a statue in the local town.
After a £5 million investment, the mill will be targeting the luxury market. It's cotton, proudly labelled, made in Great Britain. Why is there a demand for it now?
Well, there's always a demand for quality product, and there's always a demand for the best quality of yarn in the local textile industry. We are going to be producing the finest cotton yarn in the world. We are going to be able to do that quickly.
But couldn't you have done it cheaper elsewhere?
You can always do things cheaper, but this is about quality. This is about the heritage. This is about provenance and bringing it home. That's what really matters.
Now, a single floor of the automated spinning machines can be operated by 3 people instead of 60.
Here's the raw material, Californian cotton, and this machine takes a little bit off each bale and blends it together.
Christine Ashton spent a lifetime in textiles, but never cotton spinning. What does it feel like to have started working just recently yourself in a cotton mill?
Exciting.
Really?
Exciting.
What?
Yeah, because my parents was in the cotton mill and I think my grandfather was in the cotton mill and now I'm going through. Hopefully I can pass this on to my generation.
And the cotton itself that you're handling, that's fairly fragile.
Very fine, yeah, very fine. You do need nimble fingers.
Well, I can tie a very fine line on a hook for fishing.
OK.
So I should be all right, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Good.
This intermediate stage, called roving, is put through this ring spinning machine, which has a compacting component. It squeezes the fibres together, and that's what gives it very high quality. And this is what comes out. 1,000 metres of this stuff weighs only 4 grams.
In its heyday, the region boasted almost 2,000 mills. It also employed thousands of migrant workers, including Manhal Agrawal. For him, it's a welcome return to cotton.
Since the industry died, it's very difficult to find experienced operator. It's a big opportunity for young generation to learn old skill with new way, with new technique.
From an old-timer like yourself?
Yes, correct, correct.
And this is the end of the whole caper. This process is called final winding. And this machine's actually got an eye, a little camera. And if it spots any imperfections in the thread, it whips them out and splices the 2 ends back together. And that's what you end up with.
I know as a businessman you'll have little time for emotion or sentiment, but is it important to you that you've brought this industry back to its traditional home?
Oh, it's vital to us. You know, if it wasn't for the staff and if it wasn't for the people around this region, we wouldn't be able to do this.
So here it is, and this cone is going off to make luxury tailor-made shirts, each of which will cost about £650, which is 100 times more than I pay for one of mine. For now, this is going to remain a fairly niche industry, but it's great to see the first British cotton that's been spun for decades, and in its traditional home.
I mean, it's wonderful to see the industry is back, but what a shame there's 650 quid a shirt.
You won't be having one of those on this budget,
certainly
will you?
won't. No, I won't.
But it's a shame, isn't it? Because Andy usually has his dog Buster in his films, which I'm sure Nigel would have enjoyed. But no sign of Nigel in the... no sign of... What's his name?
Buster.
Buster.
Nigel. No sign of Buster.
Buster in the cotton mill.
No. Well, let's have a chat about Nigel, because Nigel really is the reason for the new book. Nigel, My Family and Other Dogs.
Yeah, I wrote this book because Nigel gets a lot of attention.
Yes.
And people are endlessly writing to him. We get letters, Christmas cards, presents. They pour in, much more than me. And having spent sort of 30 years trying to build a career in television, I've ended up being a dog minder. So this is now the summer of my... And I just... The truth was, I've always had dogs. I've always loved dogs.
Yeah.
And Nigel is sort of the summation of that. So the book is as much about my love for dogs and the dogs I've had as this chap here.
Yeah, and you were saying you've got 7 dogs currently.
We have all in all. They're across the whole family, yes. And all 7 sort of are there quite a lot. And he's very patient, gets on with all of them.
How did you come up with the name, Nigel? Because it's not a really dog name, is it?
No, and that's the whole point. Is my children went through a phase of naming dogs the least likely name for a dog. And the shortlist was Nigel or Keith.
Brilliant.
Oh, there he is as a pup. Yeah.
That's Nigel as a pup. So it ended up being Nigel. And you know these jokes, you may have it stuck. And he's Nigel. Nigel Bear is his full name.
Which, you know, we've got a sheepdog called Monty.
Have you?
Yeah, we have. And,
My
we've got
parents-in-law's
an
dog's called Monty.
yeah. But in the book, you compare him to Bill Clinton.
Well, the thing was,
how did you come up with that comparison, Monty?
Because, very briefly, I went to a Bill Clinton talk at Hay-on-Wye Literary Festival some years ago, and all the great and the good were there. And I got in because I knew someone who was organising it. And he was late, and he was overweight, and he looked like a potato, but every single woman there, and this became a sort of growing discussion point, was bewitched by him.
Really?
And I watched him, and every woman found the excuse to go and talk to him, and he drew them in. He didn't go and... He wasn't his charisma. It was just... He drew them in, and they all got as close to him as possible. I'm not talking about you, it's someone else. And Nigel has that same ability of drawing people in. And he looks like a potato.
and in the book, of course, you write about our relationship with dogs and the British's love of dogs, but also you don't sugarcoat owning a pet.
Well, there are two things I feel about owning a pet. One is when you take on a pet, and it's an adorable little puppy, you take on responsibility for its death. And that's not easy or good, but either you're going to die before it, or it's going to die before you. And in my time, I feel great guilt that there were two dogs in particular that I kept alive for my emotional state or pleasure, not for their health. And I think you have to accept that a dog like Nigel, he's 8.5, he might well live to be 13, 14, but I've had dogs that die at 10. Natural, you know, that's the end of their lifespan. It means you have to be brave, you have to be kind, you have to be wise, and put them down, and do it in a loving, thoughtful manner, and that's part of being a responsible owner. And it's not a subject we like to talk about very much, and I just think that if you love a dog, you look after its death as much as you do its life.
Yeah.
Well, coming up next year, Monty, is Gardeners World's 50th anniversary. So what do the pair of you have planned for your garden, or what are you going to be doing?
Nigel, I think, will be celebrating with yellow balls.
Yes, good.
And maybe some bumper anniversary... Oh, biscuit, how about that?
Have you got a fountain planned or something like that for your place?
We've got Nigel Tae-hee coming. But we are going to have big jamborees at Gardeners World Live. And I've been around, I was doing the 40th anniversary, and we did that. The thing about Gardeners World, it rolls and it flows and it keeps going, and it'll be gone long after Nigel and I are gone, and, you know, it's one of those things that the landmarks are great, but it's the future. And it's one of those things that just rolls on. And so the 50th we will celebrate, but then so we will 51.
There you go. It's like the land itself. We're all just custodians.
Absolutely.
Well, Monty's book, Nigel, My Family and Other Dogs, is out tomorrow.
Now, obviously, this is a perfect example of a fantastic relationship between man and dog. But on behalf of those of you who think that dogs are getting in the way of your relationships, Esther has been to East London for some advice.
Dear Esther, I think my girlfriend prefers my dog to me. She kisses it more often, she buys it treats, she even lets it sleep in our bed. Should I get rid of it? Well, let's see what the people in Ridley Road Market think.
If she prefers a dog to me, it's up to her to get rid of me or the dog, isn't it?
So it's her choice?
It's her choice, yeah.
If you had to choose between a dog or a man, which would you pick?
What would I pick? I pick a human being, please.
You can't choose your dog over your wife. Come on.
Oh, all right then.
Keep the dog.
Keep the dog, get rid of the girlfriend?
Yeah.
Because?
Women always stray. Dogs don't.
Women always stray?
Most of them, yeah. Maybe I found the wrong ones, eh?
Yes. You have got the loveliest dog.
He's called Enzo.
Hello, Enzo.
Say hello to Esther. He rolls over, he shakes hands, he does a high five.
Are we talking about your husband or your dog?
The dog.
Oh, right. Have someone ever preferred an animal to you?
No, I have had colleagues who prefer animals to me, I think, so. The dog is straightforward, simple love, uncomplicated. The whole family needs to love the dog.
Now, excuse me, don't get too enthusiastic. I think my girlfriend prefers my dog to me. She kisses it more often, she buys it treats, she even lets it sleep on our bed. Should I get rid of it?
Share the love, just
bounce the dog a bit and just replace the dog.
Would you mind doing that again? Can we watch this terrific movement of the hips?
Bum bum.
You ought to be on Strictly. If it came to a choice between a girlfriend or a dog...
I prefer cats.
Sounds a bit jealous, doesn't he? She kisses it more often, she buys it treats.
Well, maybe the dog's giving her more love. So give the lady more romance, love.
Do you know, as much as I devote my life to dogs, I do not allow dogs on the bed.
No.
Do you, Monty?
Good.
No.
Yeah,
No dogs on the bed.
No.
And in fact, no dogs upstairs.
No, same.
Good. But you can identify with that, though, can't you?
Well, my wife always says that she knew I really loved her when I called her Gretel, which was the name of my dog, not Sarah.
Very good. Well, listen, just very quickly, Monty, on the gardening front, what are you busy with at the moment for all of those that are wondering what to do on a weekend?
Well, we're coming to a time when obviously leaves are starting to fall. Yeah. Lawns. You can scratch, rake your lawn and aerate it, and in the veg garden, get out there. Aye. We're talking about gardens, not you.
Yeah, he's saying don't forget the root vegetables.
Yeah, that's the one. Carrots, parsnips, you can start to harvest. Certainly Swedes, beetroot. It's coming to that time of year.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Christine has been to a village in Pembrokeshire where the residents have taken growing their own food to a different level.
I think you certainly need perseverance.
Maybe there are other ways for human beings to live in the landscape.
Not everybody wants to live like this.
Many of us dream of escaping the rat race and going back to a simpler way of life. It inspired the 1975 BBC comedy The Good Life, where Tom and Barbara Good attempted to become self-sufficient, with varying degrees of success.
What is it? It is a fully grown carrot from our allotment.
I well remember Tom and Barbara's dream of self-sufficiency. It was big news in the 1970s. At the time, several communities developed, all motivated by the father of self-sufficiency, John Seymour. He was Britain's back-to-nature pioneer, and he started writing about self-sufficiency in the 1950s.
We started cultivating more ground, and this became a tremendous labour, so we found ourselves getting a horse. More food had to be grown for the horse. We found ourselves being forced into a position of almost complete self-sufficiency.
Anne Sears is John Seymour's daughter.
His philosophy was to live as lightly on the planet as we can. He moved to Africa when he was a young man still, 21. He spent quite a lot of time with Kalahari bushman Joseph. He taught him, John, how to live perfectly in harmony with nature. He realised that you didn't have to dominate nature, you could let everything live, and thrive.
Over the years, Seymour's philosophy has continued to gain supporters, with more people having allotments, growing their own veg, and some even taking it further. This is Lammas in Pembrokeshire, a community dedicated to coming as close to self-sufficiency as possible.
For the most part, it's a fairly conventional garden, onions, potatoes...
Tae Wimbush is a founding member of the Lammas community, which was set up 6 years ago. He lives here with his wife and 2 kids. He turned to the self-sufficient life after a conventional suburban upbringing.
I was massively inspired by John Seymour, his books particularly. I remember being kind of thirsty for that information.
In the 1960s and 70s, Seymour raised his own family according to his principles.
There's nowhere else you wanted to be but haymaking or sheep dipping, or when everybody gathered together to help. It was a different upbringing, definitely.
The Lammas community operates in a similar way, with members working in harmony with the land, but they haven't given up on technology completely.
We are trying to demonstrate that it's possible to live a sustainable lifestyle on the land whilst having a fairly modern comforts. Okay. We've all got washing machines and laptops and stereos and all that kind of stuff, and at heart we are essentially sustainable.
So just how productive are you?
Well, we're producing in excess of £100,000 from land-based activity. Well, a whole range of things. You know, food, both for our own consumption and for sale. Craft, both for our own use and for sale. We make our own electricity.
6 years on, the community is now home to 9 families, supporting around 20 adults and 30 children.
This is part of what we have to do here in the eco-village, is we have to get our living from the land. Right. So all of the willow is my own willow. I grow it myself.
I do have a really direct connection between my own needs and how I'm meeting them, and that feels really good to me.
John Seymour continued to promote self-sufficiency right up to his death, aged 90, in 2004. I'm sure he would have been proud to be the inspiration for communities like Lammas.
Don't hit the camera!
Now, this may be surprising to some people, Monty, but you don't think self-sufficiency is for you, do you?
I don't think it's for anyone. I think that growing something is absolutely essential for everybody and is life-enhancing and brilliant. But trying to be self-sufficient ends up in failure, disease and disaster. And that's because, and all the people I know who do it have such a restricted life, you wouldn't do it. But growing something, as much as you can, that's good.
Yeah, well, I mean, we heard that 100,000. I think we'll all be ringing him up for the business plan.
I was going to say, I want to know how he's doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
it's great to grow things.
Yeah, now, weather forecaster Alex Deacon has pulled up a deck chair because tomorrow marks a very special day for gardeners and weather watchers alike, because by tomorrow, everyone's going to be in agreement that...
It's definitely autumn.
It's definitely autumn.
Good.
It's the equinox.
Right.
Day and night are the same length. From tomorrow onwards, the nights will be longer than the days, and tomorrow is autumn no matter which way you measure it.
There you go.
But looking back over the summer,
Yes.
it was quite a mixed bag. Some will remember it as very hot, some very wet. But in June, we had some unprecedented weather.
It was really
in the south,
overall the summer was very, very average, if you take the whole UK and the overall. But if you look specifically at months and areas, it was remarkable, really, because the south was really wet in June. A lot of people I know live in the south think it was a cracking summer, but actually they forget that June was so very soggy indeed. Twice as much rainfall.
And hailstones as well.
And hailstones, the harvesting hail, as our weather watchers prove here in Sevenoaks. This was a scene in Sevenoaks. Harvesting hail. It was so soggy in the south, and yet it was beautiful across the Highlands, the Western Isles of Scotland, beach weather here. I mean, in the south, of course, it was Wimbledon as well. They had to go to the middle Sunday. It was so wet. But further north, scenes like this, beach weather on Harris and Shetland. Picture from Shetland. 50% more sunshine in Shetland in June than average. Just day after day, it was just beautiful blue skies.
And then, of course, July and August came along.
All flipped around and back to normal, maybe. It got very wet across the Highlands, and further south it dried up from the sort of first week onwards, and we started to get cracking seas like this. Across the east in particular, so Lincolnshire, Norfolk, Suffolk, just got warmer and sunnier, and we had some hot spells. It wasn't, there wasn't any lengthy spells of hot weather, but through August in particular, we had some real peaks in the temperatures, getting up to 34.1 degrees Celsius. That was the hottest day of the summer in Faversham and Kent on the 23rd.
But actually, hottest day of the year happened just a couple of weeks ago in September.
Yeah, because meteorologically we measure summer as June, July and August. So, but September has been crazy. I mean, we just had so many days over 30 Celsius, particularly across the east. 3 days in a row over 30 Celsius. That has happened since 1929. And the hottest day of the year, yes, was in September at Gravesend, 34.4 Celsius, mid-September. And it's never been that hot ever recorded in Scotland and Northern Ireland. It was a higher temperature ever recorded there. So it was crazy weather. And then this happened. The heat, the humidity, bang, thunderstorms. This was last week, and it caused some flooding. So that's what often happens. The heat, humidity builds, and the atmosphere gets really angry, and it shows us with thunderstorms.
I have a quick point. One of my bugbears is that the weather is terribly London South East centric. And those of us...
what, the forecast, you mean?
Yeah, the forecast.
Do you not watch Country File?
For instance... Well, I do.
Up and down the land.
For instance, I was asked, could comment on this terrible heat we were having as the rain was hammering down outside my window.
And the heat was focused across the east, it has to be said. But often you get that. I mean, but in June, July, we were talking about Shetland and the Highlands because it was just beautiful.
But you've got the note, Alex, yeah? Okay. Well, listen, thank you for all of the Weather Watchers pictures that have come in. I know you've made a big difference to the weather.
They're fantastic. Yeah, we really appreciate it. Yeah.
And if you would like to become a weather watcher, but you aren't sure how to get started, all you have to do is go to the BBC website, where you'll find tips and more advice.
Now then, back in October, we made a film about the Asian hornets who pose a potential threat to our honeybees. Their long-feared arrival was finally confirmed after a sighting yesterday in Gloucestershire.
Well, Mike has been to see a man who is keeping a close eye on our native hornets, not the ones to be confused with the Asians. However, he doesn't even have to leave home to do it.
If you happen to be invited to stay at this house in Devon, you might just want to find out who your roommates are before you decide to accept. Stephen.
Hi, good to see you. Please, come in.
The house belongs to vet Stephen Powles, an intrepid naturalist and friend of the One Show. So, Stephen, this wildlife spectacle you promised me is in your spare bedroom?
Come and have a look, Mike.
In the corner, a mysterious set of doors.
The plot is thickening ever more. What's going on? This is something really special. Have a look.
That's a hornet's nest. The startings of, anyway. It's supposed to be a bird box. Stephen put it in the outside wall when the house was built. So imagine his surprise when he opened it one day to find hornets. The hornet is a supersized cousin of the wasp. It looks like a really large hornet at the top. I'm presuming this is the queen wedged in here. She looks huge.
She is. She must be well over twice as big as the workers. She's just resting, and then she will go around the nest looking for any cells that require an egg.
Because, of course, the astonishing thing is she is the mother to every single hornet we see here.
Yeah.
They are egg-laying machines, in effect, aren't they? Queens are the only hornets to survive the winter. She'll have mated the previous autumn and then hibernated until it was time to start a new nest. Then she'll have laid eggs producing these female workers to help her. Hornet nests are incredible structures, and you might be surprised to find out exactly how they make them. While the hornets are busily building up their nest inside, I'm keen to find out what they're up to outside. High in the wall is the entrance to the nest that we saw inside. One of the key roles of the workers is to gather the perfect nest-building material, rotting wood. Stephen's told me the hornets have been using this piece of wood, and you can see here where one of the workers has used its mandibles to scrape off bits before it then chews it up, mixes it with saliva, and uses it for the construction of the nest. Inside, the workers are busy turning the wood into papier-mâché. Stephen, I'm presuming we're seeing a worker here building up the combs.
Yep, they'll go round in a circle, walking backwards as they go, moulding the paper mache, and she'll go round and do the full hexagon in one neat little loop.
Making hexagonal-shaped cells means no space is wasted. It is the most astonishing feat of engineering, really, isn't it?
Beautiful structure.
A suspended citadel. You can see this liquid being fired down the whole time. Is that waste?
That'll be urine.
In fact, a large nest can produce up to 6 litres of urine during a summer. So some people think they might have a leak in their loft, and actually it's just hornets going to the toilet.
Wouldn't like to be a plumber called out to that one.
The eggs that the queen lays hatch into larvae, which are then fed by the workers. If you look down here, you can just see the larvae moving in their cells. Just like, feed me, feed me.
Pretty revolting looking little creatures. And if you look very, very closely, they've got mandibles just like the adult hornet, with which they hold the food.
And they're after protein, aren't they?
That's what you need if you're going to grow fast.
Once the larvae are big enough, they weave caps to close themselves into their cells. And then, a bit like caterpillars turning into butterflies, they'll metamorphose into workers. They might not be the roommates that most people would choose to share their bedroom with, but their surprise arrival has given us a unique insight into the life cycle of the hornet.
And as you said, those structures are incredible.
Oh, they are, yeah.
What a treat to see that.
Yeah. Now then, before you go, we want to just give a quick thank you There we are, Nigel. That's for your little doggy bag.
Nice.
Look
at that.
And let's mention again that Monty's book, Nigel, My Family and Other Dogs, is out tomorrow. Big thanks to you all.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Now, tomorrow we'll be living on a prayer.